Hello! If you're here, I'm going to assume that you've seen the recent trailer for The Looming Shadow, the next of my big StarCraft animation projects, and I'm also going to assume that you have some questions. So I'm here to answer what I hope is enough of them. First, just right to it, what is The Looming Shadow? Well, I'll tell you what it isn't. It's not associated in any way with Blizzard, Activision, or any speculated third parties who may or may not intend or have suggested the possibility of buying the two. This is purely a fan project. Now that's out of the way, The Looming Shadow is a cinematic recreation of the StarCraft 1 demo campaign, referred to somewhat interchangeably as either Loomings or Precursor. I don't really think either of those names are too impactful on their own, so I changed it. Okay, cool. Well, what is that? It was made sometime around the launch of StarCraft 1 and was a short little campaign made to tease the events of the main game. It was 4 missions, later expanded to 6 and bundled with all copies of StarCraft 1 after a certain version number, and tells the story of what happens just before the beginning of the original Terran campaign. It's fully voice acted and is a collection of totally unique maps made just for it. It's actually really impressive from a demo standpoint, which is why I wanted to showcase it in this way. And what exactly is that way? Well, if you haven't seen my work before, I use the StarCraft 2 editor as an animation canvas, mashing all the little action figures together by using the trigger editor as my storyboard. I've done a lot of work in it already, from my original 3 History of the Races videos, 2 original videos that were mainly just me experimenting with certain things, if we're being honest, and most recently a narrative recreation of Dark Origin, StarCraft 1's secret mission. I make all the little events with the units and the triggers, then record and stitch everything together, and add sounds and music and voices. And you might ask, is that complicated? Oh yes, it is. So, why use the StarCraft 2 editor? Why not something like Source Filmmaker? Because I don't know how to use SFM. I mean, then again, I barely knew how to use the StarCraft 2 editor when I started all this, so maybe I could just learn. I could go on about how it's appropriate for the legacy or something poetic like that, but the real answer is just that I realized it could be done, and I wanted to see how far I could really push it. Also, before StarCraft 2 came out, Blizzard said they'd have really cool and complicated cutscenes just inside the maps themselves, and then it turned out they were just using like special character models and mocap and everything like that. I was always expecting an extension of what Warcraft 3 did, with the actual units on the map, so this is also me proving to a totally uncaring Blizzard that they could have done this all along. Okay, back on track. What exactly should you expect from this cinematic recreation? So, The Looming Shadow will feature the entirety of the story contained in the original demo, plus some extra stuff. It'll be out in 3 parts, and should end up being a pretty sizable chunk of content between them. And extra stuff, I hear you ask, is this fanfiction? No. Maybe? No, I don't think it is. Look, I love StarCraft's story, and I could talk for an hour about how well it tells that story using the tools it had access to at the time, but translating a mission into a watchable movie is difficult without adding some stuff. Characters need to talk and react in ways that the original presentation just couldn't show, otherwise it would be a pretty awkward watch. So yes, there's going to be some stuff in there that's not from the game. It's not going to take over, it's not going to spiral out of control and make something the original campaign wasn't, but it is going to be there. And you may have even noticed one line in the trailer that, wasn't from the original game. I hope the prospect of those additions isn't going to turn anyone away from this. If you want to see what my idea of additions and changes looks like ahead of time, check out Dark Origin. It's not one-to-one with the original mission, but everything is still there. It just happens in a way that's nicer to watch. And sure, there will have to be more work done on that front with this full campaign versus one mission, but it's not going to be me writing a new StarCraft story and making everybody watch it. Okay, well, when will it be out? Soon! We've all heard that one, right? Working with the editor to do this sort of thing is not a speedy process. It's very work-intensive on its own before even considering the planning, the writing, and the editing that I need to do. I'm working alone here, and it is a lot. I don't want to make any promises, but I would like to have the first part out before the end of the year, with the others following shortly after. But getting all that work done at once is going to mean a long lead-in time. So maybe you ask, can I help? Either with work or support in some way, and I would love to say yes. But, as a creative person myself doing hard work, I believe in paying other people for the same sort of work, and paying them well. Unfortunately, I can't afford to do that right now. I'd love to bring on some better equipped voice actors, or have a co-editor, or someone at least to help me make maps, but I just wouldn't be able to pay what a person in that position would deserve. And no, exposure and experience and passion is not an acceptable substitute for being able to eat. I really appreciate anyone who offers to help, but I would feel very bad if I didn't pay you. As for monetary support, no, I don't have a Patreon or a Ko-fi? Ko-fi? Whatever it is. And honestly, at this point, it wouldn't make much sense to start rattling the cup while I'm already deep in pre-production like this. If you did actually have that thought, and I didn't just use the comedic framework of this entire bit to put words in your mouth, thank you for wanting to support me, but there just isn't any of those things at this moment. Oh, but there has to be some way, right? And yeah, of course, do the YouTube thing. Subscribe to see the first episode when it comes out. Share the trailer around, talk about it with your friends, all the usual stuff. Look, I've found way more success with these goofy little videos than I ever thought I would. I really, really appreciate all the support so far. I love all the kind comments, and I hope this one lands the same way. So watch this space, subscribe to make it easy, and keep an eye out for the first episode of The Looming Shadow coming soon.